Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Council meeting number 10, Tuesday, May 6th. And before I call the meeting to order, I just want to recognize that today is National Teachers Day, and it's also National Nurses Day. But Councillor Goulet, I want you to listen up. It's also National Tony Day. So that's very important. So I'd like to now call the meeting to order, recognizing that we meet on the traditional territory of LHTAKO DENE. I'll be looking in a moment for a motion to approve the agenda. There are two late attachments. L1, Committee Reports, April 30th, 2025, Financial Sustainability and Audit Committee Chair Summary, and that'll be with Councillor Vic. And there's one item coming up under the Council Information Package, and it is a North Central Local Government Association webinar, Bridging Gaps in Care within Northern and Central BC, and we'll be bringing that forward under the Council Information Package. So with those late additions, could I have a motion to adopt, or pardon me, accept approve the agenda? Councillor Runge, Councillor Vic. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we'd like to get a motion to adopt the minutes of April 22. Councillor McKelvey, Councillor Goulet. Any questions? Everybody's good? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next, we have a presentation, and I'm going to ask our Director of Development Services, Tanya Turner, to introduce our new Chief Building Official.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very excited and pleased to be able to introduce you to Alison Morton. Sorry, we were just musing on the name earlier. So Alison, we are very excited to bring to our community and our department. She comes to us with 13 years of experience, a level 3 building inspector, as well as a level 2 plumbing inspector. So highly qualified, tons of experience, has already been making excellent recommendations and improvements to things. So we're very excited to have Alison, and I'd like to give her the opportunity to speak and say some words for herself.
I want to thank you all for having me. I'm really looking forward to coming home because I did grow up in the city. So I'm really looking forward to working with you guys and with the citizens of the city of Quesnel.
Great, thank you, and welcome, Alison. Looking forward to many years of service. Anyone else? No? Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to now move to presentations, or pardon me, delegations. And the first one is the 2024 audit of the city financial records, KPMG. Corey Naphtali is a partner, and he's coming in on Zoom. Are you live there, Corey?
Yep, I'm live. It's not a recording.
Then the floor is yours.
Great. So thank you very much for having me here tonight, and thank you for accommodating my virtual attendance to the meeting. We had a thorough discussion with the Financial Sustainability and Audit Committee last week, where we reviewed the financial statements in detail and reviewed the audit findings report, which is essentially our report out to that committee, giving us a status update on the audit. So tonight, what I intend to do is give a brief overview of the financial statements, and happy to take any questions or from the members. I'm going to share my screen so that you can see the presentation, and hopefully this all works. So is that great? Can everybody see that?
Yes, we have it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Great. So this is the financial statement presentation. It's similar to what we've brought in the past, and really intending to take those kind of 30-page financial statements and put them into something that's more digestible in a 15-minute presentation. So taking you through the agenda, we'll talk about the auditor's report, go over the financial statements, and we've got some highlights just showing some graphs, and then happy to take questions at the end of the report. So our auditor's report, so we do intend to issue a clean audit report in respect to the consolidated financial statements, which essentially says that the financial statements are a fair representation of the financial position and operations for the year in accordance with Canadian public accounting standards. Our report's in draft because we wait until you as council have approved the financial statements. However, we have completed our audit and we are in a position to issue a clean audit report, which is what you want to see from your auditor as those with oversight of the audit and the financial reporting processes. So taking us through the consolidated financial statements. So the year for the city is from January 1st to December 31st, 2024. And so we start with the statement of financial position, which essentially says, as of December 31st, what were the balances? So what were the assets? What were the liabilities as of that time? So on the left-hand side column, you've got the balances as of 2024, and then on the right-hand side, you've got the balances as of 2023. We can see that the total financial assets, and what a financial asset represents is an asset that's like cash or will really turn into cash, so it might be receivable by the city. So those total financial assets as of December 31st were $45.4 million. An increase from the previous year of $41.8 million. And you can see largely that increase is reflected in an increase in the cash position and an increase in the portfolio investments as well. The accounts receivable have decreased a little bit from $6.4 million to $4.4 million. And that really makes up all the changes for the financial assets for the year. When we go down the statement of financial position, the next items are the financial liabilities. So these are the amounts that are owing as of December 31st to creditors or for various liabilities of the city. So the total financial liabilities as of December 31st were $29.3 million at the end of 2024, compared to $27.3 million at the end of 2023. So we can take those financial assets less those financial liabilities, and we get a net financial assets of $16.2 million at the end of the current year, compared to $14.4 million at the end of last year. One item that you'll note on this slide is the increase in the asset retirement obligation. And this used to be called a few years ago the landfill liability, and largely it's made up of the landfill liability in the current year as well. However, it also does include some liabilities related to asbestos remediation within the capital assets of the city. The increase largely from 2023 to 2024 was the result of the city undertaking a new engineering report, which revised the estimation of those landfill closure costs and really revised the timing of when those closure costs would be incurred, and actually brought the timing of those costs a little bit earlier. And because it's discounted, it's calculated on a discounted basis. If those costs are incurred earlier, they're at a greater amount, which has driven that liability to be a little bit higher at the end of 2024. When we look at non-financial assets, so that in contrast to those financial assets that really are kind of like cash or will turn into cash, your non-financial assets for the city, these are those assets that are really used to deliver services. So prepaid expenses are essentially prepaid services. They're fairly consistent, around $500,000, as are your supplies. So this would be like gravel or any of those yard kind of items that are held for providing supplies and services at the city. That was around $400,000 this year and last year. The largest balance of non-financial assets are your tangible capital assets. So those are the physical assets, the buildings, the public works buildings, the roads, the sewer system, all of those are encompassed into those tangible capital assets. That balance is $136 million, an increase from the previous year from $134 million. So the total non-financial assets at the end of the year were $137 million. So moving on to the operations, so that's the financial position, and the operations really represent the activities for the year. So from January 1st to December 31st, what was the revenue, what were the expenses, so what were the costs, and what were the sources of revenue? You can see this has 3 columns. The column on the left represents the budget that was set. The column in the middle represents the actual incurred revenues and expenses for 2024, and the column on the right represents the comparative year for 2023. So you can see the revenue was $37.1 million for 2024. So it was in excess of the budget, however, less than the previous year of $42.2 million. The expenses were $33.3 million, which were right on budget, which was $33.3 million as well, and compared to last year's expenses of just under $31 million. There was a small loss on the sale of tangible capital assets and a small loss from the Three Rivers Community Forest investment. So the total annual surplus for the year was $3.3 million, a decrease from the previous year of $11.2 million, but the budgeted surplus was $1.8 million. So when we add the annual surplus to the accumulated surplus, we get $3.3 million plus $149 million from the previous year, ending the year with a total surplus of $153.3 million. And that surplus includes all of those tangible capital assets and the accumulation of all those years of surpluses. It doesn't represent funds available for the city's purposes. When we look at the next statement that's included in the financial statements, it's really this change in net financial assets, and it represents, the change in those financial assets that we saw moving from that $14.4 million to the $16.1 million. So the city needs to have a surplus on an annual basis, because on an annual basis, it also needs to invest in the capital infrastructure of the city. So you can see that's kind of what happened during the year, $3.3 million of annual surplus. And there was a change in non-financial assets, which represents some funding that came in, less some investment in those non-financial assets during the year. So overall, that did increase the net financial assets by $1.6 million for the year. So moving on, just looking at digging into kind of those revenues and expenses for the year and looking at them kind of from a highlights or kind of a graphical representation, you can see the comparative from 2024 to 2023. And really what I would highlight looking at these 2 bar graphs would be the net taxation revenue. You can see in 2023 represented about half of the total revenue. And in the current year, that taxation revenue represented over half, and largely the change being the government grants. So that's that pink item here, which was $10.9 million in the previous year and $4.3 million in the current year. So the decrease in the government grants was expected, it was budgeted, but it does show how the revenue has changed from 2023 to 2024. And then looking at expenses, so this shows all the various types of expenses from general government to amortization, and you can see from 2024 to 2023, the main thing that you're seeing as an increase is under that protective services line item, and really that represents the fact that the RCMP services within the city were fully staffed during the 2024 year, whereas in previous years, the RCMP staffing levels were below budget. Looking at a highlight, so this is just breaking down that tangible capital assets to see the bigger categories. Really nothing I would highlight here other than just to bring your attention that this is all the things that are included in that non-financial asset, the land, those improvements, the buildings, the road infrastructure, machinery and equipment you can see there as well with some investments during the year, water infrastructure and sewer infrastructure. Goes on to drainage infrastructure, furniture equipment, motor vehicles, and construction in progress. So that's what makes up all that physical non-financial assets within the tangible capital asset balance. And then, as I mentioned, within that accumulated surplus, it's important to understand that that $153 million is made up of a number of different items. The first being that large investment in those tangible capital assets. That represents $124 million. Within that surplus, there's monies that are set aside for appropriated purposes. That represents $29 million. And then there's smaller items. So the amount that's actually unappropriated, or like an operating surplus, is a small negative number of $887,000. There's a small investment in that Three Rivers community forest. And then there's an accumulated remeasurement loss, which is just represents the fair value differential on the investments. So really the unappropriated surplus amount has increased from a deficit of $9,000 to $887,000. And the appropriated surplus amounts, those are the amounts in reserves or set aside, $29.9 million from $27.8 million in the previous year. So looking at that appropriated amounts, you can see increases from 2023 to 2024. So the capital reinvestment reserve has increased from just $4.6 million to $6 million, and largely the other funds have stayed fairly stable. So at that time, that's just a really quick snapshot, but just like to thank the staff time. Carrie and Matt were great to work with, and happy to take any questions on the financial statements, and I could show you went into great detail last week, line by line.
Okay, thank you, Corey. I'm going to go around the room. Questions, anyone? Councillor Runge.
Thanks, Corey. Thanks for the report. I'm going to ask for two questions. It's just clarification for the average person watching. Can you just explain that unappropriated surplus again?
Yeah, the unappropriated surplus. So if you were to think of your financial statements, so you have your revenues and you have your expenses, which can result in either a surplus or deficit. But what I would argue in regular municipal operations, you need to generate a surplus because you need to continue to invest in those capital infrastructures. Also, sometimes what will happen is you'll get some specific funding for the city that's really being set aside for specific purposes, or you as council will make the decision to set money aside for specific purposes. So if money has been set aside from that surplus in a reserve, it will be part of that appropriated amount. So the unappropriated surplus is essentially what's left. And essentially there's, like with a small negative balance like that, there's really very little surplus that hasn't already had use set aside for. And I don't know, Carrie, if you wanted to provide more color to that.
And just because it's negative, I think, is why I'm asking this question.
Okay, so generally by fund, we, like for our water fund and our sewer fund, we try to keep 6 months of expenses as unallocated surplus, just so if there's an emergency or something happens, we have that money sitting there. So if you go into the financial statements, you'll see the breakdown by fund. So all of that negative amount is in our general fund, and it's because of the landfill liability. We haven't fully funded the landfill liability, so it ends up showing in a negative in our surplus.
Thank you, and that was just because that would have been the number that jumped out at me when I was looking at this to make it public. So thank you very much. And my other question is, I guess, based on, would we have a supplementary note based on the unfortunate events of last night? And how do we have figures if it does, or is that just something that comes next year?
Well, I can speak to it now. So I was going to mention it later, but we are required to report on subsequent events in our financial statements. And because the fire happened last night before we adopted the financial statements, I will be adding a note. So the note will just basically say, I'll just read what I'm going to put in there. On May 5th, a fire broke out at 101 Marsh Drive, a City of Quesnel-owned facility that houses Sprout Kitchen and the Nourish Food Bank. The damage was severe, and the city is working through the next step. The building and improvements have a net book value of $437,225. The building was insured, and we will be adding those to the statements.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you for that. Anyone else with a question before we move on to consolidated financial statements? Go ahead, Councillor Vic.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Corey, I just want to thank you for your assistance and work on this file. A clean audit is something we're very proud of, and I know Carrie and the team worked extremely hard to give us that high quality in the city of Quesnel, and I want to thank you and Carrie's team for working so hard and giving us such a great result, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well said, Councillor Vic. Thank you. Okay, Corey, so move on then with consolidated financial statements. Or do you have, my agenda says that you're reporting out on that. Am I?
The financial statements there are just for information for council, and council will be adopting them later. So they were just for information.
So,
he gave the summary report.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess
I'm all done.
You're good to go. So
I'm good to go.
So thank you, Corey, and hope to see you next year.
Great. Thank you.
Great.
Have a good night.
Thank you. I know I kind of stumbled on this last year as to who was responsible for delivering or commenting or reporting on the consolidated financial statement, so that'll come up later. Okay, now we will move to our next delegation, which is the Quesnel Pride Society. We have President Julia Dillabough that's going to come up, and when you do come up, Julia, would you please introduce those accompanying you? So it's the two of you that are sharing the presentation?
Correct.
Okay, the floor is yours, Julia.
Excellent.
Thank you.
First off, I'd like to thank Mayor and Council for having us here today to present on behalf of the Quesnel Pride Society. Always a pleasure to be in the council chambers. I'm Julia Dillabough, as you announced, and I'm the president of the Quesnel Pride Society. Along with me today is the vice president, Michaela Gzowski, who's with us. So. Just would like to start off also acknowledging the sadness of what we lost yesterday in the Sprout Kitchen and the Nourish Kitchen. Really a sad piece for our community, but we can hear that it'll get rebuilt, so that'll be nice. Also, with that surplus that I heard earlier, I'd like to get some high chairs for the delegates, because I feel like that little commercial looking over at you guys. Okay, so getting on with our agenda, are we on to the next?
I
think we can just click
one
there.
at a time.
Yeah.
It's just showing the one, or?
What are you guys seeing?
No,
do you see the agenda now?
What do you see?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
That's two.
Okay, so I won't read through the agenda, but what we're going to be covering today is what we have been able to accomplish in the past year. So essentially, since we saw you all last, what good work we have been able to put forth in the community. Over to you.
I don't want to have to move it every time. So we'll be talking about our society and board rebuild, covering our memberships, our Rainbow Night events, and our counseling program. So the memberships, we have temporarily paused our membership program to work on much needed updates. We streamlined and simplified the sign-up process. Now it is as simple as filling out a quick Google form. We have 4 types of memberships: an individual youth membership, that's $5, an individual adult membership, which is $10, and you get 1 AGM vote, a family membership, $20, which includes up to 6 people with 2 AGM votes. The business membership is $35, and that sponsors a free youth membership. So every business that signs up, each individual membership, some businesses have signed up twice, pays for a youth membership, which allows us to include everybody. Currently, we're sitting at 71 members, which is an all-time record for the Quesnel Pride Society. That is not including the 4 additional people included in each family membership. So the real number is probably closer to 90, and that is with no advertising. We have only been offering memberships at our Rainbow Night events. So the next step would be advertising on our Facebook page.
So what are these rainbow nights that we speak of? So it's an all-inclusive event that we host almost every month. You know, we're all volunteers, so we only have a limited amount of time and energy to put into it. But we welcome all of the 2S LGBTQIA plus community, including allies. We, of course, want to always involve our allies because it is important to have the wraparound support from everybody. We always make sure that we bring in guest speakers, so we've brought in Foundry. Transcare BC was able to give a presentation to, you know, dispel some of their, you know, confusing statements that are out there and give some certainty as to what Transcare BC supports and provides. We then put on special activities, karaoke, so if any of you like to sing, please come on out. It's a great time. We've done trivia and arts. We had pottery and ceramic painting at our last one, and it was a hit. We had door crashers before 6 o'clock arrive, and we also hosted a special event for the Christmas holidays, which was also really well attended. We provide non-alcoholic beverages to the Quesnel Pride Society members. We started off with it being free, and then we thought we better start bringing in some memberships, so it's one of the perks of members to come. Appies that are brought in by Craig's Table, a huge supporter of the Quesnel Pride Society, and participation has grown at each event. The first event that we always start off, we started off with about 25 people, and we've hit up to towards 70 people at each of the events. And this is not the same people that come each night. We've witnessed and seen new faces at each time, and we've even had people from Williams Lake and Prince George come and attend, which has been quite welcoming and exciting to have them come and join. Yeah, back over to you, Michaela.
Okay. And also some people from the island.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That one I didn't know. There you go.
So our counseling program, which some people don't know about, our counseling program offers subsidized sessions with a counselor of choice for 2S LGBTQIA+ and questioning individuals. The program rebuild is currently in progress, but counseling is still available. We are currently looking for more qualified counselors as well to participate in our program.
Back out of me. So Pride 2024, it was once again record numbers attending in the parade, which was lovely to see the sea of color. I must say thank you for the beautifully newly painted crosswalk. We got to lay down on the crosswalk and take some pictures. I'm pretty sure Austin was there taking some photos of us. We always zigzag our way through the downtown of Quesnel, making sure that we are not stopping traffic into the highways, but keeping it rolling. We make sure to always, and last year we changed it with council to us taking back the flag and then putting it up at the event. It makes a big difference for the community to see the flag being raised, and we always start that off by having an elder from LHTAKO come and give the community a blessing, which is always a major honor, and to raise the flag in a good way on the LHTAKO DENE Nation's land. We also, this past year, started our first kids zone. We had a bouncy castle, and that was a huge hit. Some of the kids, we couldn't even get them off the bouncy castle to give others a turn, but we made sure everybody got their turns. We also had changed up our youth evening. It was a youth and teen event, so we split up and made sure that the younger ones had the event during the day for the Pride and in the park. And then we had our youth event, which was the evening before, and we had live band, and it was pretty well attended. I think we had about 40 youth show up, and lots of volunteers to support the youth. Had a live band, which one of the members of the band is a member on the Quesnel Pride Society, and they really rocked it, so it was great. And then we ended the event always with our adult party, which was also very well attended, and we're growing and developing that this year.
Okay, and our plans for Pride 2025. This year is our 10th anniversary. So we have had a theme. It's going to be it's a new you. It's a new era of Pride with you. So we have been off to a great start already with over 65 sponsors contacted, 10 already committed. Those numbers are slightly out of date. Thanks to our generous local businesses. We're currently sitting at around $3,000 in sponsorships and in-kind donations, with our goal being $10,000. Side note, anybody is able to donate. We accept business and personal donations. So after our annual Pride Parade, weaving through the downtown, we will again raise the flag with an elder there to bless the community and the day. We do want to encourage all of you to come and participate in that. Who's moving? So we'll have the same, like the park event again with familiar and new vendors, as well as an expansion to the kids zone with more fun activities, since that was so popular last year. And so the youth dance event again will feature live music because that was very popular.
Sorry, our screen's on us over here.
Someone's moving.
Who's got the mouse? Somebody's got a mouse out there. Going crazy over here.
Oh, because I didn't move it. That's why. Sorry. But yeah, so the youth event and then the adult after party will be sponsored in part by the Etchin Healing Society with a drag show, catering again by Craig's Table, and an exciting theme to be revealed next week when we launch the ticket sales. We have a ton of festivities planned, but the flag raising is going to be the heart of it. Having the entire council's support would make a powerful statement against what we're going to show you in the next slide.
Will it play the sound?
Should.
So just before you hit play. Okay, so this is something that I'm sure that many of you have witnessed in our downtown. It's the reason for why our Pride sidewalk has to be repainted over and over and over again. It's not from normal wear and tear. So this video just so happened to be from an evening that the board was leaving our board meeting, and we came out and we're having our, after hours chit chat outside the meeting, and we hear this screeching coming down the road, and we look over towards the crosswalk, and here comes a truck lighting it up right on the crosswalk. So what did we do? Well, we do what any proper investigator will do. We follow them into the pot shop because that's where they're going. And we had contacted the RCMP, stayed a safe distance away from this person because they were severely intoxicated. They were served at this location. And then we had left the building before they had left. We were still chit-chatting with the RCMP on the phone, to which then this person still leaves because the RCMP had not attended, and they then started to speed away down one of our local streets. Once again, lighting it up on the crosswalk. So this is not normal wear and tear that occurs on this crosswalk. This is a situation of systemic issue. It is hate-fueled aggression. And this type of aggression is what people in the queer community deal with on a daily basis. And this is tires on a sidewalk, not necessarily the paper cuts that kids sustain by names calling and stuff like this in schools. I just want to remind everybody while watching this, you'll hear my voice in it, so sorry for that. But you'll be able to maybe hear even a little bit of panic in my voice because it's frustrating and it's sad. Change in the community takes leaders lead by example. And we know when leaders stand up for kindness, the rest of the society shifts with it. We can see from the distasteful rhetoric down in the south of the border how unwelcoming a town can be, how unkind a city can be, and how much people don't want to go to a certain country. And we can see from how welcoming the Rainbow Nights are that people are coming in from multiple communities. They can see what we're doing here, and they can see that we're welcoming. And we can see by how passionate even City Council was last year, and they are this year, to get the crosswalk repainted, how welcoming Quesnel is and can continue to be. But it continually takes leaders to stand up for what's right. In justice studies, there's a term called the broken windows effect. Leaving a broken window broken will lead to more broken windows. The same thing goes for negativity, hate speech, hate-fueled aggression. If people don't stand up for kindness, then we will just get more hatred. With that, I'll let you watch the video.
Oh, sorry. What's the address here, guys? It's Reed Street and St. Laurent, sorry? Reed Street and St. Laurent.
Sorry, this is constant. This is during the daytime. This is during the nighttime. I've seen it when going into the bank. I've seen it when going into Johnson Meyer. People have to wait for them to spin out, and it's very unsafe. And it's not because of the sidewalk, it's because people are hateful.
All right, so we have some questions for council. So when we came last year, council had committed to pursuing diversity and inclusion training. Has council completed any diversity and inclusion training yet this year or over the past year?
Okay, so you're asking, you've got two questions, eh? Like the second bullet, you're on the second bullet there. Has a diversity and inclusion program being planned or implemented?
No, that's the second.
Okay, you're on the first one.
The first one have the council members, and then city employees as well. That's a separate question.
Yeah, whoops, I'm sorry. I'll take a shot at answering that. There hasn't been anything specific to diversity, inclusion, et cetera. Although I will say that we have had some sensitivity training for council and for employees, but I think that pertained mainly to our Indigenous communities. But I will say that in attending things like the North Central Local Government Association and Union of BC Municipalities, and attending, as I do, the Caribou Regional District, there has been, again, sensitivity training for the benefit of the staff and the elected officials. I sort of want to jump ahead to the last bullet, because it sort of fits there that, you know, we're the members of your society and general community involved in the design of any of this training. And certainly if you can give us for consideration a template of you know, what would be suitably included, I'm sure that, you know, we would have a look at it. So I'll leave it at that. Does any council members wish to sort of join me in answering that? Okay, I'll hand the floor back to you for more questions.
Yeah. So that is good to hear, because sensitivity training is a start. It's not quite the same as actual diversity and training. Like it's more immersive, I would say, but that's good. And so I just also want to clarify, by members of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community, we don't necessarily mean us as board members. We just mean anybody that identifies as a queer or trans individual. So that, because we are volunteers, we're not experts. So that's not necessarily we do have resources that we can look at, and if that's something that council would like to partner with us on, then we will happily look into something for that. But it just means, do you have any LGBT employees on your staff or anything like that? That's another. Go ahead.
Yeah, as well, like I know that there's many other organizations out there that have this type of diversity and inclusion training. And we're not just talking about the queer community. We're talking about accessibility. We're talking about Indigenous and First Nations. And if the city staff and city council, I've been on boards, and that was the #1 thing that we started with, was diversity and inclusion, and how do we act and treat others in and around as a board member and as a council. And I think if we don't have that implemented into our policies and our procedures and our bylaws, like, we're really behind here in Quesnel. So we're not just even speaking just for the queer community, but we need to get into we need to get into this century where that's already written into what we are doing. And if we don't have it, implementing it from another community and starting with what somebody else might already have, rather than getting a template from us is really important. We can be consultants and assist in the development of those and come in as guest speakers and talk to our lived experience. But in order to build it, there's already templates out there and stuff that you can be gathering from other communities.
Yeah, thank you. That was my thought, yeah. Exactly. And with the explosion of mental health issues, vulnerable populations, the need for this is even, and it goes outside of the, as you say, the queer community. It's universal, and I guess what we need to do is do our research and try to find that template so that we've got a starting point. I'm going to go to Councillor Rudenberg now.
Yeah.
Thank you. The short answer is no. Right? I think the last time we had any kind of training involved council or staff was around 2022. I stand corrected if I'm wrong. Yeah. So it has been a while. So I get what the mayor is asking for. And I think that there is an opportunity that if there is someone, in the community who takes this kind of stuff on, who comes to speak to organizations or councils, if you have names or organization names to share with us, that would be great. Mm-hmm. Not that we can't do our own homework, but there might be somebody that stands out to you that would work for our community. And the other piece is when you talk about policy, and I think, we sit on the policy and bylaw committee, perhaps this is that piece that we say, okay, when we do our new council training, it's only once every 4 years, I get it, but it's a start, and we include that in the new council training so that it's not missed and that, year 4 go, oh, we forgot. So perhaps that's a discussion that we have as a council, how that might look for new council training. I have no excuse of why we did not do this past year. Mm-hmm. I know my own life got a little bit busy, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't 8 other months that we could have worked on this. But I think what you say is very important, especially when we look at how your organization is growing. Like when you have successful evening events that now have 70+ members attending, or that's amazing. And I think that as council, we need to make this right. And I'm not trying to do lip service. I really do think that we need to put into policy something around our, council training. And that gives us a year to figure out what that looks like. It's not like it happens next month. So that gives us a year to work together and figure out what that would look like. Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Rudenberg. I just want to mention that I appreciate you introducing the reference to the broken window essay, because that is very powerful. Yeah. And there's a lot behind that, and this is what we're talking about. It's not just your group. It's the entire spectrum. And finally, do does your society have any interaction with the Caribou Regional District? And the reason I say that, or the reason that I ask that, is that this is more than just the city. And in fact, we have more people living outside of our municipal boundary with the V2J suffix or prefix than we do in the city.
Yep.
And, you know, it might be an idea to think about, rather than just presenting to council, that you know, we look at presenting to our North Caribou Joint Advisory Committee, which includes all of council and the 4 northern directors, because it is a community-wide issue.
Yep. I absolutely love that idea, and we would love to be welcomed in there.
Okay, well, we've got one of the co-chairs right here, so there's your foot in the door right there. Is there anything, do you have any, oh, sorry, Councillor Runge, I'm sorry.
Thank you, and thanks for the presentation. So with regards to training, I think in fairness, I think most of us are continually looking at things, and we're not trying to exclude anyone. And so personal training, I think, happens continually for, at least I'm speaking for myself here. Is it formal? No, but it happens every day. In my other job, it happens every day. And we take, you know, we take pride in that too. I have a suggestion, because I'm the chair of the Accessibility and Inclusion Committee. And I think it's, 2 years when we have our next vote for the next set of people coming in, their 3-year terms. We'd love to see you there. And then at the end of the month, we have a survey that's coming around town. And on that survey, if your members feel that there's something missing, this is where it comes up. We discuss it with this lens at that meeting all the time. So as a council, and then I report back to council what happens there, and then, you know, hopefully as we progress, because it's a fairly young committee, we're coming into our, you know, year plus a little bit, then we'll start to ask, you know, there'll be asks for things that aren't happening in the community. So just, you know, I think that'd be a great way to share your views also with a committee, and then we can share it, move it forward so it follows process.
Yeah, I think that is exactly the platform that we need to be invited into. With that, do you have a certain amount of like seats per demographic of inclusion, or like how do you make sure that it's a well-rounded committee?
We asked for people to volunteer for 3-year terms, and we filled it with all sorts of groups. And I am sure, I don't ask about, you know, personal things like, but we have seniors, we have various different groups on that committee dealing with accessibility issues in town.
Okay.
And so I'm not sure, it was a public invite to everybody. So, and we're a year and a bit in, so it's a year and a bit in the next, for the next group to come up as the next selection.
That's good.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Runge. Councillor Elliott.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. I really appreciate everything that you all do for the community. It's just so very important. I like to try and be involved as much as I possibly can, but I think there's opportunities for all of council and staff to learn more. So thanks for everything you're doing, and I look forward to the events coming up soon.
Okay, thank you for that. Before we move along, can we just go back to the crosswalk? I have a question for you, and the existing crosswalk, wasn't that painted with latex rather than the elastomeric paint? Well, I think that we should go back to the elastomeric paint. In fact, there's a Pride crosswalk in Prince George that I noticed last week, and it looks extremely sharp, durable, and I think that's testament, unless it was just laid, you know, recently. It was recent?
I don't know.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Because it is sharp, and I think that that would maybe stand up better to those.
Your mic's off.
Maybe that would stand up better to those rednecks.
Well, I like that term. Thank you. Yeah, I don't disagree. And if that's something that council so chooses to do, we just appreciate that it being freshened up each year. You know, I think that I speak for probably the entire downtown association as well. I'm going to, you know, inject here, but you know, people are speeding through those spaces all the time. So maybe we can look at some either other types of safety measures around that, just speaking on a safety behalf. So.
Okay, is there anything further in your line of questioning? Are we?
I think we're done with questions.
Yeah.
I wanted to come back to what Councillor Runge said and acknowledge, like, you appreciate the learning on your own and doing that, and that's excellent, and I love to hear it. The key of what we are trying to bring to the table here is the different diversity groups being involved in that training. So you can go, but like you don't know what you don't know. So if it's not your lived experience, it's very important to be hearing from people with that lived experience. And that's all we're trying to do here. And yeah, and we just thank you for having us, and we would really like to see all of you at Pride for our 10th anniversary.
Yeah, and I'm going to reiterate that. You know, in the past 10 years, this is like 10 years that I've been involved in this. And 7 out of the 10 I've been directly involved. And I've only seen a couple of you there, you know, once in a while, some more than others. I would really love to see the greater majority of you there, all at the flag raising to support diversity and inclusion in Quesnel.
Go ahead.
You know, I think that if we were here, we might be here. There's lots of other things that we do, and sometimes they just get pulled out exactly the same time every single year. So just realize that sometimes it's not because we're, and I'll speak for myself in this case, but I'm sure it's for others too. There's other things that are going on sometimes at the exact same time. So we'll always look like we're not there.
So I can appreciate that.
So
I can appreciate that, but I have a day job. I own a ranch. I run a society. I am on a health board. I have a family. I do all these things and then more. So I understand what prioritizing means. And if when somebody wants to prioritize something, they will be there. I understand that there's an entire community. I am not asking for every single one of you to be here. I'm asking for a greater majority to stand up and come to the 10th anniversary for Quesnel Pride. That's what I'm asking.
Thank you for that. I just want to say that I hear you loud and clear, and I thank the Pride Society for always holding that event on my birthday. And I have we always have a family camp out on that weekend, and this year is a milestone anniversary for yours truly. So there you have it. Family over public service. Is there anyone else? Go ahead.
One last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for those of you who are unable to attend, we are accepting donations, and so just showing your support is what we're looking for.
Good shot.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, so we're going to now move along to items. We have no items arising from previous special closed meetings. We have no unfinished business. We're going to go now to committee reports, and we have the April 30th Financial Sustainability and Audit Committee Chair Summary, Councillor Vic, and it's a late attachment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With your indulgence, I'm going to reverse the order since chronologically I think it makes more sense to do the stale report.
Yeah, I saw that, but I thought I'd leave that to you.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. So the first report is from the finance meeting that we held on April 16th, which I apologize is a little stale to be bringing it on May the 6th. That's just the way the calendar worked. And as it happens, the items discussed, we've already voted on. The 5-year financial plan, we had a good discussion on that. That came to council on the 22nd. We talked about the tax rate bylaw. Again, that came to council on the 22nd. And then in terms of an update from finance, audit was wrapping up, and good news, it wrapped up. And I'll report about that in about 30 seconds. And then regarding action tracking, we're still tracking with in contingency planning, hypotheticals, planning for a major, if should there be a major loss in taxation, we're doing some contingency planning on what that would look like. And this is under the auspices of tariff action in the United States and how that may affect us. So there are no recommendations since those items already came to council. So if there's any questions on this report, I'll take them. And if not, I'll move on to the next finance report.
Any questions?
Number 2. So this one happened on April 30th, so last week. And obviously the main topic of discussion was the audit, which we heard about tonight. And of course, as mentioned by comments, it was a clean audit. We're very proud of that. Very proud of our finance department for clean as a whistle as usual, and we thank Carrie and team for that. And there will be a recommendation below. Then we talked about the finance department is now getting ready with property tax notices, and the department is aiming to get those out as soon as next week. Is that correct, Director Bolton? And part of the pressure on that is because there could be strike action with Canada Post, so this is a motivating factor for us to get those tax notices out before that may or may not occur. So I'm going to move the recommendation that Finance and Financial Sustainability and Audit Committee recommends to Council approval of the City of Quesnel 2024 financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2024. I'll move that recommendation as well. In the background of that recommendation, we heard from Director Bolton a few minutes ago about a notation that will have to be included regarding the unfortunate incident that occurred last night regarding the fire on Marsh Drive there. So that is embedded in that. So I'll make that recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vic, and Councillor McKelvey, you're seconding that. So is there any discussion? I'll call the question. Are we all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, Councillor Vic, you can continue.
And that's about it?
Well, that's about it. Okay.
And our next meeting is May 21st. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Now we are going to go to Public Safety and Policing Committee report for the meeting that happened on April 15, and I'm reporting out as the chair. And the purpose of this report is to provide Council with the summary highlights of the Public Safety and Policing, PSP, as it's affectionately known, meeting held April 15. And the first item of discussion was burning complaints, and there was some statistics that were presented by Fire Chief Ron Reichert about unauthorized fires and how they are increasing dramatically ever since 2020. And these unauthorized fires obviously include the very sad and disastrous event that occurred last night. And we'll be hearing more about that. I'm not going to comment further because the investigation is ongoing, and tune into social media and there's all kinds of stories floating around out there. Don't believe any of it until it's actually until the official investigation has been completed, but it certainly is worrying. And you'll see in your agenda package that a number of complaints filed in 2020 for unauthorized fires was 6, 2022 8, 2020, and this is just for the first quarter of those years. And then in 2023, 11, 2024, 29, and 2025, 77. I mean, that is totally unacceptable. And so we've really got to put our minds to, and I'm looking forward to attending the North Central Local Government Association and also the UBCM. I mean, that is probably that kind of questioning is, and trying to learn as much as we can about what others are doing. It's not just unique to Quesnel. It's a world phenomenon. So also, an increase in the amount of dumpster fires was also expressed by Chief Reichert, and there were 13 dumpster fires reported in the first quarter of this year. And so I'll leave the business of burning complaints for now. There was also a discussion about body-worn, the RCMP body-worn cameras, and we had a couple of members there that demonstrated the body-worn cameras, and there are no recommendations at this moment, and our next regular PSP committee meeting is slated for October 21. But in view of all of the bad stuff that's happening, we may be meeting before that. So it's certainly, you know, at the call of the chair. Councillor Rudenberg.
Thank you. So to go back to the number of complaints for unauthorized fires, is there any correlation to encampments or homeless shelters?
I think that's sort of a foregone conclusion. A lot of these fires are what is characterized as warming fires. Even the fire last night, it appears just from general observation that was what it was. But I mean, again, we can't get into, you know, saying what it was. But I mean, I went and had a look at the site, and it seemed pretty obvious to me. But that's just my personal opinion. So we'll leave it at that. Anyone else? Okay, then we'll move over to the next item of business, which is the Cariboo Regional District Board highlights from April 11. The first item that was, well, not the first item that was on the agenda, but the first highlight that I will report out on, and that is with regard to the 150-mile house courthouse being removed from the CRD's Heritage Site Registry. And on the recommendation of the Heritage Steering Committee, the Cariboo Regional District Board has voted to remove the 150-mile courthouse from its Heritage Site Registry, clearing the way for demolition of the deteriorated structure. The building will also be removed from the BC Heritage Register of Historic Places. And in your agenda package, you will see pictures of that old building. It is absolutely beyond salvage, and as I say, this recommendation came from the Heritage Steering Committee. There was also quite a discussion on funding for animal control, and the consultation for animal control in electoral areas has been deferred. Originally, this was brought forward by Director Forsyth for electoral area D, but it appears that there may be some level of interest from citizens in other electoral areas, so that'll be coming back. Some good news for us in the north, and that is funding for equipment at G.R. Baker Memorial Hospital. The Cariboo-Chilcotin Regional Hospital District Board has given the green light for equipment funding at G.R. Baker Memorial Hospital as follows: 109, well, call it 110,000 to replace 2 anesthetic machines at the hospital, and $100,400 to replace the ultrasound machine at G.R. Baker. And also close to home here is there was $10,000 committed for power to the Cottonwood House Community Hall. And the board also endorsed an application to the NDIT, the Northern Development Initiative Trust, for a further $30,000 for this project. Right now, or for many years, the community hall has relied on a clunky old diesel generator, so this will certainly be a big improvement for that community. That concludes my report. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. The next one is, then we go to council information package, and I asked that this one be brought.
I apologize. I made an error on your notes. That should be bumped down below staff reports. Under SIP.
Under SIP, yes, yeah. Okay, so now we go to city staff reports, and we're looking for admin report number 52/25, electronic vote ratification, Prospectors Car Club, request for a resolution of support for their BC Gaming Grant application. Deputy Corporate Administrator Hartley to report.
The purpose of this report is to seek ratification from Council on an electronic vote that was taken April 28 and 29. The resolution being that Quesnel City Council endorses the Prospectors Car Club application for BC Gaming Grant funding to support their annual August Gold Pan Stakeout events in Quesnel, which boost local economy by attracting nearly half of the registrants from out of town and giving back to the community by donating a portion of the proceeds to local charities.
Another resolution. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we need another resolution to ratify the electronic vote?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I will look for a mover on that one. Councillor McKelvey's moving. Councillor Vick is seconding. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, so that looks after that one. And then I'm going to go to admin report 51/25, and this has to do with my upcoming Shirawi visit and a gift provision, and that's and I also want to make it clear that Councillor Vick and Runge are also part of that delegation, and we're all going at our own expense. So just to get that into doesn't need to be in the record, but it needs to be said. I think I've been to Shirawi 5 times, and all at my own expense, including a wedding back in 1991, my wedding in Shirawi. So go ahead, Director. No, you're not Director yet. City Manager McKay.
Thank you for that, Mayor. There's not much to add here. It's pretty self-explanatory. The reason why this is coming forward to Council is just simply that in our gift policy, we actually don't have any language that covers the giving of gifts for cultural exchange. Certainly the amount of money is not material to our financial statements and seems a little bit ludicrous to bring forward, but in the spirit of transparency, we brought this one forward to acknowledge that this is an important relationship for us, and as well, especially at a time when we are looking at alternative trading partnerships as a province and as a city. One thing that we can, at Council's direction, take back, if you're supportive of this, is to relook at our gift-giving policy through PABCOM and see if there's an opportunity to add in a line that would cover off something like this in the future and make our lives a little simpler. But I'll leave it there. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any questions? And I know that we're certainly not going to go anywhere near $500. In fact, I have an idea, and I'll put it out there, and if anybody's got any other ideas, I'm looking for, there's a particular picture of the Fraser River walking bridge all lit up with the reflection in the water. I think it would be very fitting. But if anyone else has got an idea, we'd like to hear about it. It's got to be something that can, fit into a carry-on, because I don't intend to.
Good luck with that.
That's right. So, so we need a motion on that. Okay. So I'll move, or I'll look for someone to move that. Councillor Vick, Councillor McKelvey, Any discussion, comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Council. Over the page to admin report 5325, official community plan update, Director Turner to report.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is just to provide you all with an update with the OCP rezoning land use development bylaws process that's going on, and make sure the schedule was put out to you directly, as well as let you know that all of this stuff can be found online and shared with all of your community members, and we certainly encourage you to pass it all along. In summary, as you're aware, the province mandated that we take on these bylaws and do these updates. We have hired a consulting firm, Small Housing BC and Aspen Lands Advisory Limited, who are taking on the consulting services for this process and are underway of now having an agenda for how this is going to roll out. The first open house was last night. There has been a survey out, which will continue to be out. There will be an online open house that will be passed out to you next week and to community members that we're hoping more participation will take place, and we will be furthering all sorts of media posts, social media, etc., and that we really hope that everyone shares, so that we really get as much input into these documents as we can. And again, very important to remember that these documents are and these updates are really to be focused on housing policy updates and trying to improve our housing policy and our development processes to encourage the development of additional housing units. So we really encourage the community members to talk to us about what they want to see in that regard.
Okay, thank you for that. I see that there is a recommendation, but it appears that a motion is not required because we're receiving it simply for information. Okay, thank you. And is there any questions or comments from council before we move on?
Sure.
Go ahead, Councillor Rudenberg.
And so thank you for the step-by-step, how things are unfolding. I think it's important that we get this information out to the community, because they don't understand what an official community plan is about. If you've seen some of the comments online, it's like it's so far out there. And so, if you have an opportunity, just redirect them. And especially if we're going to do an online piece, what an excellent opportunity for those people who sit behind their keyboards to actually take a half an hour to an hour, however long it lasts, to find out what an official community plan is. So I really encourage people to put it out there in their own social media so that we get people to actually attend.
Councillor Elliott. Sorry, I'm not using a microphone here. Go ahead, Councillor Elliott.
Reverse speaking. Yeah, I just wanted to thank Tanya and her crew for the presentation yesterday. There was a lot of information there. There were a few people there that showed up when I was there, but I'm hoping that there was a lot more engagement as well. But there was so much information, and I do suggest that anybody online just search out and complete it. It's extremely important. So thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Elliott. Now we go to, is there anything more on this particular item of business? No questions, Councillor Runge? No burning questions? Okay, so now we're going to the council information package, and so what I'd just like to bring to council's attention is the North Central Local Government Association member webinar. The title is Bridging Gaps in Care Within Northern and Central BC. It's on May 21, and it's over the noon hour, so nobody's got any excuse for missing it. It's basically a lunch and learn type of a thing. And I've attended a previous webinar of this nature, and I find it very, very informative, and they have a good question and answer session at the end, and so I would encourage council members, if you can spare the time, to tune in on that virtual webinar meeting. Any questions on that? Seeing none, we have no correspondence. We have 2 bylaws. Bylaw number 1971, City of Quesnel Financial Plan Bylaw number 1971, 2025, final adoption. A mover. Thank you, Councillor Vic. Councillor Rudenberg seconding. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. And bylaw number 1972, City of Quesnel 2025 Tax Rates Bylaw, final adoption. Moving. Councillor Rudenberg is moving. Councillor McKelvey is seconding. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Well done. And again, kudos to not only FSAC but the staff. A job well done, and that was evidenced by the clean audit as well. So it's been a good night for our financial services department. So thank you for that. Okay, so that's that part of business out of. So now I'm going to go to information and question period. No changes to upcoming meeting schedule. No changes to committee appointments. Announcements and events. Anyone? Did you have one, Councillor Elliott? Oh, I thought I saw your hand go up. Well, I'll just put in a plug for the Friends of Bushy Lake. They're putting on a car rally scavenger hunt on June 1, and the reason I'm bringing it, and I mean June 1 is quite a ways down the road. Well, not a terrible long ways down the road, but in any event, if you sign up early, you'll save $10 on your registration fee. The prize for first place is $200. Second place is $100 cash, and third place is $50 cash. And I know that it even comes into the city because our museum is part of the one of the destinations on the scavenger hunt, a car rally. So if you can attend, please do. Pat and I are going to do that one. So okay, is there anything? Go ahead, Councillor Runge.
Yeah, an announcement. So this is, I guess, for public announcement more than anything, because tomorrow at 1:30 we're going to have the provincial alert system sent to everybody's phone, so don't get too scared. It's just a practice. That's tomorrow at 1:30.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. Gallery questions. Oh, pardon me. Yeah, gallery questions. Anybody? Okay, then I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Moved Councillor Elliott, or Councillor Elliott's over there. I'm going to go to Councillor Runge, Councillor Goulet. Are we all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everyone.